What's up guys, it's Mike, and today we're back at it again with the Jeep, but it's a little bit different. Today I've got kind of a video for everybody out there that's either looking to buy a Jeep Wrangler or either has a Jeep Wrangler they just bought and they kind of want to look over it and see exactly what might need attention, what might need some work, and what just to take care of and to make sure it's safe for the road and it's roadworthy and good to go. So I purchased my Jeep about a year and a half ago, and it did not look like this when I bought it. It definitely had a stock look to it. It did not have much done, so you can say it's, I wouldn't say it's heavily modified, but it is modified. So basically I bought my Jeep because I bought it for a good price. At that point I knew what Jeeps cost in this type of condition, in this type of age, and they were going for around $7,000 to $8,000 at the time. Now I got mine for $2,000, and yes, there was some work needed, and definitely I didn't know exactly what I was getting into. I never purchased a Jeep before. I didn't really know many people that had one, and I didn't know anyone that went off-roading, and that was the main reason I bought it. I wanted to go off-roading, and I wanted to just go and enjoy the great outdoors, but in a vehicle, and see how it is and see what off-roading is all about. And boy did I get into something. But I've learned a lot, because when I bought my Jeep, it needed a ton of work. None of the stuff that should be there for roadworthiness was there, and I needed to replace a lot of things. And I'll go over what I replaced, and I'll also go over what we should look at. So over that year and a half, as you can tell, I've modified it quite a bit, and definitely I am planning to keep modifying it. But along that way, I have basically found out everything that I should look for when purchasing my next Jeep, and what I should watch out for, and the different things that could basically cause an issue or come up on any other Jeep. So I thought I would make this video to help you guys out, because if I watched this video before I bought my Jeep, maybe I wouldn't have ended up with this thing. But it makes for great content, and if you guys want to see a lot of different repairs and a lot of different things done on a Wrangler TJ, check out my channel and browse the channel, because I have tons of different things that I've done to this thing. But if you guys are in the market for a YJ, TJ, JK, even maybe a JL, check this video out and see what I have to mention, because it applies to basically any modern Jeep and any Jeep that is, I would say, without leaf springs. Even if you have leaf springs, it's not hard. You just take a look at those things and those components. But older Jeeps I'm not too familiar with, so I'll be talking about anything from about the 80s forward. So let's hop into it, let's walk around, and I'll show you guys exactly what we need to look at when you're going out to buy yourself a used Jeep Wrangler. The first thing that you're going to want to look at when going out to buy your Jeep Wrangler is rust. And yes, believe me, if you don't already know it, they love to rust. So this one is from 2001, and it is, I believe, lived its entire life here in Canada, and we live here in the Rust Belt. So trust me, things love to start to rust, and you can see it's bubbling up a little bit here. We've got the back corners and all kinds of rust. Just like, yeah, there's that's a body mount there, it's rusting through here, and you can see like there's light on the other side. I can't really get my hand in there, which is a good thing. But yeah, so I've got a few spots that I've got to take care of, and I'm getting there. The bodywork is something that is on my list, but it's one of the last things on my list. But what do you need to look at when you're gonna go check out a Jeep Wrangler, and where are the main rust spots? Main rust spots will be on your frame and on your floors. So the first thing you're gonna want to look at is the entire frame. So take a look at it, and if you can, lay down and get right in there and try to see from underneath. And then you'll notice the skid plate. The skid plate is usually very rusty because, as the name suggests, it skids along things when you go off-roading. And if you're not buying one that's been off-roaded, then check the skid plate for scratches and for marks, because if the guy's telling you it hasn't been off-road, that's a very good indicator if it has or if it hasn't, because with the amount of ground clearance you have here, snowbanks and stuff is not gonna cause damage to that. So definitely make sure you know what you're looking at. And the next spot is the floors. So the floors, you can see I have a hole in my floor. That's actually the floor mat right there. And I will be patching my floors. They do make entire floor pans that you can get for like $100. You just got to cut this one out and weld it in. But at this point, it's not that terrible. It is a hole, yes, but it isn't like a life and death scenario. So I will be patching it. But body mounts, that's the next thing you're going to want to look at. Body mounts are quite important. As you can see, this one's rotted out. This one's not too bad, but it's on its way. And this one looks as it should, pretty much. There's a little bit of surface rust around it, but nothing too terrible. Next, you're going to want to look at your control arms. Those are going to be here in the front, connected to your axle. And you're going to want to take a look and see if there's any rust or pitting or any kind of surface rust on those. Same within the back. You've got your rear control arms here, and this is all stuff you can do just by quickly crouching down. You don't really have to go and lay down underneath the vehicle. You don't got to be an expert. You just kind of look at it and see the condition of it. You can also check out the frame here in the back, as well as the spring perches or the spring mounts, and you can go and lean over in the back, take a look at the rear skid plate, see if there's any scratches. As you can see, mine is scratched and dented, and I've already replaced mine. You can also look at the differential. If you see any leaking around it, as you can see, mine is wet right around the filler, which is okay, means I filled it. If you see any wet around the actual like seal, that's when you know it's been leaking a bit, and that's when you should actually check it out and see if you've got any issues there. The other most common rust spots are going to be along your windshield frame, especially these hinges. Mine have already been replaced. You will have rust along the actual frame as well right there. You can also get rust buildup on your hinges, as you can see I have on mine. And this is a great example vehicle because it's not in the best shape, but I'm still working on it. It's still a project vehicle, even though I do use it for off-roading. It shows you guys kind of what to look for, and it's a great example of the good and the bad. On newer Jeeps, on JKs and on JLs, these are plastic, so you don't have to worry too much about these, but the fender is still metal. So check inside, make sure you look inside the fender for any kind of rust in there. Make sure you also check for any kind of rust on top of the actual fender. Sorry about that, guys, there's a plane going by overhead. But basically, you also want to check inside your fenders. You want to check your spring perches in the front as well. You look and see on your strut mounts to see if your shock mounts or your shock towers are starting to deteriorate, or if the top hat over here is rusted, or if the rubber inside here is starting to go. And you can even check out the back of your bumper and the front of your frame. Now, surface rust on something like a sway bar isn't too bad, even if it's pretty pitted. These aren't expensive or hard to replace, but definitely do make sure to check out the actual frame and the body, as well as your torque boxes on both sides. So you can see this one isn't as bad as the other side, but it is starting to go. And definitely check those out. Check out the frame again, like I mentioned. And last but not least, open all the doors, which this door I was actually surprised it's not even closed. I was driving with it like that, but okay. But check out all of your doors and make sure you look at the bottom of your doors. So you can see I've got a tiny bit of rust starting, and it's not too terrible yet, but that will accumulate and that can start to show on the other side of the door. When you open the doors, check the inside of your hinges just to see how bad they are and see if there's any rust buildup there. And if you have a TJ, you can actually lift up the carpet right here, look underneath, and look for holes in the floor. Now, I do have a hole there. That is for that plug that's right next to it. That is something I will also take care of, but that's a very common thing. The plugs do start to rust and they do start to fall out. So make sure you check all of your drain plugs in the floor when you lift up your carpet, no matter what year of Wrangler you're looking at. Same thing along the back. Make sure you open up the tailgate, look at the tailgate, see if there's any rust in there, see if there's any rust along the bottom rail here. This is very, very common to rust out on these Jeeps. And these corners rust out a lot. So make sure you also check. You see there's a little bit here. I've got it starting. And the most notorious part, these hinges. I've already replaced mine. As you can see, the old ones kind of faded the window here. I've already tried to clean this with steel wool, and yeah, I'll probably just have to end up doing something else to clean the window. If you guys have suggestions, definitely let me know. But this is something we need to take care of. So pretty much, if it's metal, it's gonna rust on the Jeep. So take a look at it, just give it a good once over. I know that every time I go to look at a vehicle, I get excited and I don't look at everything I should, and I'm guilty of it. I know you guys, some of you are guilty of the same thing. So definitely just take your time, go over it slowly, and look at all the different aspects of it and see if there is rust in places that are hiding. Next thing that I'll tell you is check all the rubbers. And what I mean by that is look at all the bushings. Now, I don't have a sway bar here, but if I did, I don't have a sway bar link here, but if I did, the sway bar link would go from here to here. You can grab it and move it with your hand. And if you hear any popping or any kind of noises, and if you feel any kind of movement in it, then definitely that's something that should be addressed. Those are cheap. You can pick them up for like 20 bucks, 30 bucks, depending on what kind you want to get. But that's something that you should look at. Next thing you should look at is to see if your shocks are leaked out. If they are leaked out, then definitely you're going to need to replace those, because the ride is going to be horrible. And most people, they actually still have the original shocks on these even after 20 years. You would be really surprised at how many of my friends have a TJ and they found out they still have the factory shocks and suspension still in there. Take a look at the rubber on your control arms. You can see mine is a little bit cracked and it's starting to wear. Now check your control arms front and back, and also go to the rear and check your control arms front mount and back mount. Now, I'm not going to lay down under there right now, but basically you guys make sure you're checking all your rubbers also underneath here. Look at all of the body mounts, see if they're actually rotting out or if they're cracking or if they're still like a nice supple rubber. Same thing in the back. Check your shocks to see if they're leaked out. Check your springs, see if there's any cracks in them. And you can also check the rear of the control arms there. As you can see, mine need replacement. The next thing that I would say is take a quick look at all the fasteners that are actually exposed on the Jeep. So any kind of bolts, you can see how these are all kind of torn to crap and they're all corroded. You can see on the front your bumper mounts. Also check the rubber on here. These are known to crack and to get brittle. So you can see mine are still flexible and they're still kind of doing their job, but those definitely do start to go. And if they do go, you don't want your hood popping up on you at a inopportune time, basically when you're driving. So make sure to check those. They're not expensive to fix either or replace, but it is something that you should look into. All of the exposed fasteners, and since it's a Wrangler, basically every fastener is going to be exposed. Check if all the turn signals work. I know that sounds like kind of like a basic thing, but make sure they do, because on one side here mine is pretty corroded out and it doesn't work anymore because of the corrosion and the rust that's in it. And it's not a big fix. Again, it's an easy fix. Most of the things on this Jeep are quite cheap and quite easy to fix, but it is something you should check into and just look into and see if one of the lights doesn't work. See if you can get the connector out of the back and just take a look at it and see if it's actually the connector or if it's the light bulb or what it is, because you might be in for more than just a light bulb a lot of the time. Now for the next part, we'll hop into the Jeep. Make sure to check for moisture buildup around the front footwell area, because your heater core is located in that area in the engine bay, and if that starts to leak, then you're gonna have coolant leaking out onto your floor. As well, when you're looking at that, just look at the carpets and see the condition of the carpets. See if they look like they've been soaked. See if they look like they've been covered in mud, because that'll also tell you if it's been off-roaded and if the guy actually took care of it or if the guy just used it as a mud truck. Because even though I use mine as a mud truck, you can see my carpets are still pretty good, and that's because I actually clean my carpets. I have a carpet cleaner and I take care of the Jeep. Next thing would be to check the four-wheel drive system. make sure you hop in there and you drive it. Mine is standard, so go through all the gears, check the gears, make sure there's no grinds, make sure there's no funny noises, make sure every gear works, and make sure you don't have a reverse pop out. If there is a body lift on your Jeep, sometimes the linkages don't line up properly from here to the transmission because you're extending the space that's actually there between this and the transmission, and the linkages aren't made for those angles. So basically what happens is it doesn't move as far as it's supposed to. So when you go to reverse, or when you're in reverse I should say, sometimes you don't get that full amount of throw or full actual articulation of the selector fork inside the transmission, because this doesn't move as far as it's supposed to now because of the lift. And sometimes you'll be going in reverse and it just pops right out. So what happens is you need to make sure you check if that's an issue, because I've test driven some of these, and especially TJ's, there's a lot of them that get the reverse pop out, and it is annoying. It is something you can fix, but it is something you should just look into. Next, I will say put it into every four-wheel drive mode that you have on your Jeep that you're looking at. If it has a full selectable like this, or if it's got the knob or whatever it is. So basically go through it, drive it in every single mode just to see if it actually works, if it engages, if it disengages, because a lot of the time people will buy a Jeep and they'll go, oh, my four-wheel drive doesn't work, or my four-low doesn't work, or this doesn't work. And you don't think to try these things out sometimes unless you're actually experienced in driving Jeeps. But definitely check out if this actually works and shift it through all the gears, put it into 4-low, put it into neutral, put it back into 2-high, and put it back into 4-high, and then put it into 2-high. And see if all of them work, and see if it actually drives properly as it should. Now, lucky for me, mine did. Next thing I would check, and this is a little trick that I'll show you guys, is check for check engine lights. Now, mine is gone right now, so that's a good thing. But if you have a check engine light, or even if there is no check engine light, let the Jeep run for a bit after you've driven it, just to see if one comes back. Because if someone just cleared one, chances are it'll come back at idle. So basically what you want to do is to check a check engine light, or to read the code. Take your key, put it in the ignition, and move it on and off 5 times. So that doesn't mean like this 5 times, it means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you do that quick enough, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it didn't show up because maybe I don't have any code, so nothing's coming up, but I still thought it would say no code. But either way, so all you have to do is cycle your key from on to off, and you do that 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and resulting with the key in the on position, you should get your codes read out for you right here. Some of the last things that I'll mention is check the rear wiper motors. Those also like to go on the hard tops. So basically, just see if it moves, see if the sprayer works, and if everything is functioning back there, if it makes any funny noises. Because when I got mine, this is a different one. I actually replaced my window and I got that motor with this window. But the last one, it made a noise, like a crazy noise, sounded like a gremlin was trying to crawl out from underneath the Jeep or something. So definitely check that out, because those like to rust up and they do like to fade and not work anymore and start to seize. So just check it, turn it on, make sure that it turns on. One of the other things that I'll mention that I actually didn't know until it happened to me is the seat belts like to stick. As you can see, this clip is here. The seat belt doesn't want to come out any further than it's out right now, and that's because it is a broken coil. And inside the coil, basically one of the pieces starts to fall in out of place, and that's what locks it, and it stays locked. So to fix that, you have to take it apart and take it out, which I will be doing in a future video. So if you guys want to see that, stay tuned. Make sure you jump down there, hit the subscribe button. But that is an issue, and make sure your seatbelts come out, because sometimes they don't. Check for any leaks inside the cabin. Jeeps love to leak, especially around the doors and around the windows. Around the windshield frame here. So make sure you don't have any leaks anywhere. If you do take your top on and off a lot, then it is more prone to leaking. Now, I have taken mine off countless times and I don't have any leaks. So it all depends on just what condition yours is in, and if the person before you took care of it, or if it was off for a long time and all the seals got weathered and dried out in the sun. But just check it out and take a look at it and see if it actually seals. And check your latches, see if it latches properly, see if it's nice and tight, see if it's actually working as it should, because a lot of the times people like to take these off and they don't take care of them very well, and these like to get bent and things happen to them. So just check your latches, make sure the latches work, make sure the latches actually line up and everything seals. Also, funny enough, I know it sounds kind of stupid, but check that all the screws are in for the hardtop. I know a lot of people that run these without the proper amount of screws or without even screws at all. I know guys that just latch it in and they just go for it. So make sure those are there. Check if the screws are in the door hinges, because a lot of guys will actually take them out. Like mine didn't come with them, and I've rented Jeeps that didn't come with them. So make sure the nut is there and there is something holding on to the bottom of the hinge, because my Jeep never came with it. I've rented Jeeps that don't have it on there, and some people just like to take them off and then they lose them. So see if the guy has them, because that's a pretty important piece. And Jeeps are known for having all kinds of random issues and all kinds of problems. So if you're looking at a TJ or anything with a 4-liter, they love to tick. And what do I mean by that is the engine. The engine builds up like a ticking, or ticking is the best way to explain it, over time. And I'm sitting at 263,000 kilometers right now, so it has quite a bit of mileage on it, and I do have the ticking. So I will start it up for you, and I do have a cutoff exhaust, so that's not going to be a great example of what it should sound like on startup, but it sounds great, so I'll leave it there for you guys so you guys can listen to it. But I'll let you guys hear the ticking and let you guys know exactly what I'm talking about when I mean ticking, and see if it is something that your Jeep does or the Jeep you're looking at does. It's not a big fix, it's not a big issue, but you are gonna have to take the engine apart, so make sure you know what you're getting into. And depending on how bad that ticking is, it could be something else. It could not be just lifters or rockers, it could be like a bearing or something like more serious. So definitely have it checked out by a mechanic. So you guys can probably hear it pretty well right now. And mine does go away after it warms up, so I know it is a lifter or a rocker or something like that. But if yours doesn't go away, or if it's more serious than this, or if it's louder than this, then definitely you should be a bit more concerned. And you can hear it pretty well from down here. So like I said, guys, it is something that I have to look into. It is something that needs to be addressed, and it is something that you guys should watch out for. But it makes for more great content for me to share with you. So definitely, if you guys want to see me fix this thing up more, jump down there and hit that subscribe button, because as you can see, we're just scratching the surface on this one. And there's quite a bit more to do, so we will be doing that, and I will be doing more mods and more repairs and just more general fixes and things that you guys want to see and things that I need to get done. So basically, other than those things, there's not too much else that you really need to look over or really need to check out. I would definitely just look at the air filter, check the oil, check the coolant, check all the lights, check the horn, make sure your windows work, make sure all your doors work, just the regular stuff, you know, like radio, whatever else, you know what I mean. But other than that, that list that I gave you guys is basically what you want to look at when you're looking at your Jeep Wrangler. And remember the rust. Make sure you check all the rust spots, and make sure you check the floors, because that's the main thing that's going to eat away at your money, is fixing up rust. And trust me, it is a pain, and it is something that needs to be done, because if you don't do it, then you won't have a Jeep in the end, because it's just going to rust away. So basically, that's the list. Hopefully it helps you guys out. Hopefully I didn't miss too much, but if I did, I know I missed a few things, so help me out, guys. Jump down there in the comments section and list all the other things that I should look out for, you guys should look out for, and just the common things that you guys found with your Jeeps when you purchased them. So definitely, if you guys enjoyed this video, jump down there, hit that like button, let me know what you guys enjoyed, let me know what you guys want to see in the next one in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe, because as you can tell, I've still got a lot for Big Bird, and there's a lot more mods and a lot more planned for this, and we are taking it off-road soon, and trust me, I cannot wait, because I haven't taken it since we've gotten the new tires and the lift. So once again, guys, thank you for watching, thank you guys for sticking around, and until next time, guys, ride safe out there. Peace.